You're listening to the Greek's Gridiron, live with Athan Hristodulu.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Greek's Gridiron. I am Athan Hristodulu. We're doing power rankings as we do every week on this beautiful Tuesday. We just witnessed probably one of the craziest Monday Night Football games I have ever seen, at least. Mac Jones threw 3 passes the entire game. The Patriots ran for 200 and some odd yards, scored a big touchdown, Damian Harris. The Bills threw the football 30 times in some of the craziest conditions I've seen wind-wise, and just an absolutely bizarre and weird game to watch, but an entertaining one just to see how the Patriots offensive line was able to literally just outmuscle the defense. You could just see them get worn down play by play by play. They ripped that big run early with Harris to get a quick lead. They took the 8 points there as well. That was awesome to see. Really impressive game plan overall for the Patriots. The Bills, it was a close one. But I think the biggest, most jarring issue that came from this game is something that we've talked about here a lot with the Buffalo Bills dating back to the offseason when I first started the podcast and everything. The Buffalo Bills do not have a running game, and that is a big issue. They can throw the football with the best of them, but it's been blatantly obvious throughout this season when they get into the funk and lose their games. You look at the numbers, Josh Allen's usually the rushing leader, or maybe, Devin Singletary has like 50 some odd yards, but there's no true running game here in Buffalo, and that is the biggest problem right there. Now, we're ranking all 32 teams, so make sure if you enjoyed the video, like it, subscribe for more, and then on top of that, share the podcast with people you know. If you think what we're doing here is awesome, I would greatly appreciate it. We are fast approaching 200 subscribers. We got 193 as of this recording here, so let's talk some rankings, shall we? First up, if you have not seen this, obviously the screen, this is where we rank everything. We're going to start with the first group of 7, 32 through 26. The bottom not really moving in the power rankings very much at all. I mean, despite the Lions winning, I'll pull them up now for you guys to see. Detroit Lions sitting at number 32. You could argue maybe they should be bumped up a spot. The Texans did just get completely blown out. However, I'll give credit where credit's due. Lions got the W. The Vikings got in their own way, though, as well. This is a game they should not have dropped to the Lions. But all things aside, congrats to the Lions on their first win. Glad to see they're not going to be the first team in NFL history to go 0 and whatever multiple times. But I still have them set at number 32. They have the worst record in the league, and they just barely scraped by this victory here. I do want to give them credit for it, but I still have them at 32. At number 31, we have the Houston Texans. Not much to say about them. They dropped the goose egg against the Colts this week, 31-0, in a game that honestly was more separated than I expected it to be. Not to discredit the Colts or anything, but just because Houston seems to play Indianapolis fairly well at times, and it was kind of, in my opinion, one of those trap games where I could see Houston coming out of nowhere and maybe sucker punching them and keeping it kind of close, but Indy dominated them. Houston fell 31-0. Jacksonville Jaguars, they took a loss as well. Tough game for them. They lost 37-7 to the Rams. The struggles continue in Jacksonville at this point. I mean, the season is long lost. I don't really see them making any run for some late playoff berth or anything like that. But they have a couple of wins. I don't really have too much to say about them, though, because there's really not a lot going on with them. I feel like offensively, they just can't really get anything going. Ever since Urban Meyer said, I want my offense to be 250, rushing yards, passing yards, I just feel like you have not really sniffed any of that. It's going to take a while for this Jaguars teams to really rebuild. I mean, they just have so many missing pieces on that team. I feel for you Jaguars fans, tough. Sitting at number 30, though, not the worst in the league. Number 29, we have the New York Jets. They also took a loss as well, 33-18. So like I said, the bottom 4 teams here did not move them around. They all took L's in pretty unceremonious fashions, one way or another. Aside from the Lions, yes, I get it. But again, I don't want to rate them higher than I have them right now. I had them hovering around like 30 and 29 for a while, and then 31 and then 32. They've been sitting there for quite some time now. Respect to the Lions. I know all the teams in front of them took a loss, but I'm going to keep them at 32 where they are. And again, Jets sitting at 29. Tough week for them. Hopefully things get better for Zach Wilson and company. But right now, The Jets, clearly a rebuilding team as well. At number 28, Chicago Bears. They'd somewhat hung in there against the Cardinals, but 4 interceptions from Andy Dalton is just not going to get you a W. Realistically, Dalton threw that game away for them. The Cardinals defense being opportunistic with the interceptions and also just dominating offensively. Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins were back. Everything was clicking. I mean, the Cardinals are looking great. The Bears, not so much. Now, at number 27, New York Giants. This is a team that I love and I hate at the same time because they win games that they shouldn't be winning and then they lose games that they probably should be winning based off the teams that they're beating when they do win. I don't really know what to make of this Giants team. Right now, Daniel Jones is out. It sounds like he's potentially going to miss his game against the Chargers as well next week. A lot of uncertainty there at the quarterback position. I feel like injuries have just plagued the Giants offensively all year long, whether it's the receiving corps, the running backs, or their quarterback position now, offensive line. I mean, you name it, the Giants have probably dealt with it at some point. Tough for them right now. 27 seems good to me. At number 26, Panthers didn't play this week. I don't have them moving, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think they moved. If they did, it was maybe one spot, but I do still have them sitting at number 26. We'll have to see where they go with Cam Newton as their starting quarterback following the bye week. Don't really know what to make of the Panthers right now. They've had a great defense throughout the year. It's the offense, obviously, that's been letting them down. Maybe with, some more time in the system, maybe the Panthers will play a little bit better with Newton as QB1. We'll have to see where that goes. Next group up, at number 25, we have the Atlanta Falcons taking a really tough loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Defensively, they just could not stop Tom Brady. Tom had 4 touchdown passes, just completely slice and dice them all game long. If you're letting Brady throw for 368 yards and 4 touchdowns, not really much you can do. The passing defense was just like a sand sieve for Brady, and he was just, firing darts left and right throughout the entirety of the game. At number 24, big upset for the weekend. This was one I definitely did not see coming here. The Seahawks at 24 beating down on the San Francisco 49ers 30-23. Pretty surprising game. I really did not expect this to be the outcome. There's been so many issues offensively with the Seahawks and defensively they've been abysmal, but I do want to give credit to them. Got a big win over a division rival at that. The NFC West is so competitive. And I kind of talked about this, I believe, last week as well. With the NFC West, you never really know what you're going to get out of those games. They play each other so competitively in that division. Even when teams are like 3-8, as in the Seahawks going into this one here, that lesser team always comes prepared and ready to go. And there have been a lot of upsets in this NFC West division over the years when, the team that's sitting in the number 1 or 2 spot is losing to the team that's in the 3 or 4 spot of the division. So shout out Seahawks, big win for them. I have them sitting at 24. 23 continuing to slide down the board. Another 4 interception guy in Taysom Hill. You do not win games, especially against a team like the Dallas Cowboys who can put pressure on you offensively by turning the ball over 4 times. That game was not good by Taysom Hill. I don't know what they're going to be doing at quarterback going forward. I don't know if Taysom Hill should be the quarterback going forward. I mean, realistically speaking, while Trevor Siemian struggled, he didn't throw 4 interceptions in prime time. So, I mean, we'll have to see what the Saints do at the quarterback position. It really sucks, and I talked about this last week as well when we were doing the NFL picks. It's crazy how good this team was with Jameis Winston, and nobody really realized it, and I feel like some people still don't even realize it until now, where the Saints are now 0-5 since he's gone down with his injury. They were 5-2 at one point. They were right in the top 10 of the power rankings for me. I mean, they were rolling. They had the blowout victory over the Packers that week 1 game. I mean, the Saints were legit. They were legit, and since then have just fallen off, losing their quarterback, and it is really, really unfortunate for them. Sitting at number 23, though, for me. 24, we're looking at the Vikings. Talk about getting in your own way. I feel like I constantly say this about the Vikings, a team that is just so good that just underachieves weekly. This is a team that I really thought was locked and loaded. When I did my divisional rankings prior to the season, I did each and every single division by division, NFC North. I had the Vikings ranked at number 2 in their division, which, to be fair, they are. But I did not expect the gap between them and the Packers to be so large. And they have a win over the Packers. And division games are different than regular games. If it was like a random couple of NFC teams facing off, that would mean more in my opinion. But division games, anything can happen. Your opponent's a lot better than the other teams. I just wish that the Vikings could just put it together offensively and defensively. It's the defense really at the end of the day, and I feel like I said this a lot going into the season. For the Vikings, they're going to go as far as this defense allows, and the fact that they let the Lions drop 29 points on them speaks for itself. This was a unit that was supposed to come back better than before. They brought in a bunch of good pieces. They were bringing back key players from injuries. I had a lot of Vikings fans in that specific video trying to, plead their case to me on why the Vikings were going to be the number one team in the NFC North. And I mean, there was very good arguments for it all, don't get me wrong, but the NFC North is pretty much shaken out the way I had it dissected and broken down. It sucks for the Vikings, man. I like them. I really do. I like the way I love their offense. It's just their defense. And then sometimes the offense doesn't show up. We've talked about that enough, though. I won't get into it. Vikings are at 22. Eagles sitting at number 21. This is a really weird team. They've been hovering around like 18 to 22 for quite some time for me because they're just like win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. Have a big win here and then big loss there. The passing game is probably the biggest issue. Gardner Minshew looked great as the starting quarterback. No interceptions, 200 and some odd yards. Great for him. I don't know if this is going to like cause questions to stir in Philadelphia over who should be QB1, who ran the offense better and whatnot. It was a really good game offensively for Philadelphia. Don't get me wrong. They did just play the Jets though. So, there's some smoke and mirrors there. And I don't think that's really debatable. If Gardner Minshew is a starter again for another week, we'll have to see how that goes. I'm curious to see how he'll fare against more competition. Again, they were playing the Jets, a team that is in like complete rebuild mode right now, still trying to find an identity on pretty much every side of the football. I know that they've had their wins. Trust me, I love to see those kind of wins, but it's the Jets. Then I don't mean to say that, but I do mean to say that at the same time. Eagles at 21. We'll have to see where they go with that quarterback situation. I'm very intrigued by that. Next 5, at number 20, we are discussing the Denver Broncos. Talk about a team that I just do not understand. They can shut down really good teams, and they can also get their butts kicked by really good teams. The Broncos they're going to probably finish the season like 9-8. I feel like is how it's going to go because they're like win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss at this point. And it's like they win against really good teams. They lose against really good teams. I don't know what to make of Denver. They're somewhere within like that mid-tier. And the one thing I want to explain to everybody here as I'm talking about number 20 is from number 20 to like number, I want to say 13 or so, there's not a ton of separation. So like the Broncos being ranked at 20 is not too far behind from the teams that I have ranked at like 15 and 14. I know it's a lot of numbers to look at, and on screen it looks a little bit more jarring, but the middle of the NFL is very squished together right now. This has got to be one of the most competitive seasons I've ever seen, and a team like the Broncos who can go out and shut down an ultimate threat in like the Dallas Cowboys offense, but then facing a Kansas City Chiefs team. Denver had like 400 yards to Kansas City's like 250 or something like that. Whatever the number actually shook out to be, I don't know exactly. Talk about like a what the hell, how do you lose that kind of game? The turnovers. I like Denver. I don't know if Teddy Bridgewater's the guy. Again, he was supposed to be the starter because he was able to, control the football, protect it, not turn it over. He's had some games where he's had quite a bit of turnovers and thrown the game away. We'll have to see what Denver does going forward. Number 19, we got Washington, another team that wins some big games and loses some big games, but they are on a hot streak right now, so shout out to them. I believe that's 3 or 4 games in a row they're sitting at now with a big win over Las Vegas, who has had some pretty big wins themselves. They just came off that massive win on over the Cowboys just this past Thanksgiving weekend. Shout out to Washington, man. The defense is slowly coming into form. They are one of the better run defenses in the league. They're one of the best third down defenses in the league. They are slowly starting to look more and more like the defense I expected them to be early on. The question really is it too late? Well, there is a clear path for them to the playoffs. They kind of control their own destiny here. They pretty much have to win out. They're playing the Cowboys. They got to beat the Cowboys. But realistically speaking, Washington is in the hunt for the NFC West. They have a good shot at it. I have them at 19 now. You could argue maybe they belong a little bit higher. But like I said, 20 through like 14, 13, really tight-knit group. And like Washington could very easily, with a statement win, shoot their way up through that like mid-tier group right there. There's not a lot of parity or distance between these teams that are bunched together in this like mid-teens group. At number 18, we have the Dolphins. Hot streak for them as well. Big win over the Giants, continuing to keep things rolling here. They have looked great since Tua came back from injury, picking up a number of wins. I mean, at this point, the Dolphins are playing really well. An offense that's, showing synergy, a defense that's able to keep teams in single digits, a la the Giants just this week. I've been impressed with what the Dolphins are doing. I don't know if I buy them as a true playoff contender just yet. I don't know why, but I just can't seem to trust them personally yet. But respect to where respect is due. The Dolphins are on a hot streak. I want that to be recognized in the power rankings. They continue to climb and continue this streak. I mean, they're only going to travel upward on the boards. At number 17, we have the Browns. Did not play this week, bye week. I did drop them one spot just because of the way I was moving everybody around. I try not to move teams too much when they're on bye weeks because I don't really want other results affecting them. However, just the way things shake out, sometimes it does happen like that. Not much to say about them again. Didn't play this week. Sitting at number 17, middle of the pack team right now. Number 16, we got the San Francisco 49ers taking a shocking loss, in my opinion, to the Seattle Seahawks, a team that is really struggling to find an identity this year. Chris Carson's out for the year. Russell Wilson missed a handful of time. He is back, though. But ultimately, there's a lot going on. It's pretty messy over there in Seattle. So for them to have dropped this game to the Seahawks, I mean, I'm really surprised. I really thought this was a game for the 49ers to win. Garoppolo had like 300 yards through the air. Offensively, San Francisco, they were playing well. It's just the defense could not stop nothing. And against a team that really has not put up a ton of points this year, their points per game is far down in the bottom tiers of the league. Really surprising to see the 49ers drop this one. Fringe playoff team is kind of what I would label them right now. I had some people trying to argue with me that they're a top 10 team right now. I don't believe in that at all. They're somewhere in this middle teens area. They're right in the middle of the pack, like on the cusp of the playoffs, but not quite there just yet. Next five up on the rankings here. Number 15, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Big statement win over their rivals, the Baltimore Ravens. It came down to a failed 2-point conversion, but nonetheless, despite all the conversation that's been going on the last few days about Roethlisberger telling teammates this is his last season in Pittsburgh and in the NFL, they got a big win over a big division rival. Basically clinging on to their playoff hopes at this point here. They are third in their division right now, so a lot of ground to make up. Not a ton, but enough ground that you're going to have to pretty much win out and hope for some losses for your division rivals to really make a chance at the playoffs here, as the AFC North has been so competitive. But big win for them, statement win. They were able to slow down Lamar Jackson and company. Good for them. Number 15. At 14, we have the Raiders. Tough loss to Washington. This is a team that is right on the cusp of playoffs, but they're just outside looking in. The Raiders have been dealt with so much adversity this year, and it's hard for me to knock them when they lose games because they have so many wins already. And on top of that, like dealing with everything they've dealt with, losing their head coach, losing some number one picks at wide receiver, cornerback, like you've lost so much talent in the people in charge as well. The fact that they're still even in the playoff race speaks volumes for this team and where they are. Great unit. Hopefully they can sneak their way into the playoffs. We'll have to see how things shake out, but 14 for them right now looks good for me. 13, I have the Colts, slowly climbing up the leaderboard here. Statement win over their division rivals, 31-0. You can't ask for much else. That was exactly how that game should go if you're the Colts and you are trying to stake your claim as one of the better in the AFC. You want to be blowing out the teams that are supposed to be lesser than you guys. So good victory for them. I like them at number 13. The Bills, coming off their disastrous loss to the Patriots last night and letting them just completely run all over that run defense. The Bills got exposed, I would say, to an extent here. Their run defense, not quite as good as people thought, although the Patriots are one of the best running teams in the league. The fact that you knew what they were doing every single play and they threw the football only 3 times, that's got to be something you're looking at. And I would not be surprised if they're running, full sprints down and back on the football field all day today during practice. That was a pretty wild result to watch. The Bills got to figure out their running game. Hello, Gravy. My cat's here to say hi to everybody. What's up, buddy? I need you to scoot off the table for me. Thank you. Almost just knocked my camera over. But yeah, no, there's just the run defense is a big issue for them. The rushing game on the offense is another issue. And the running game was something I talked about through the offseason. They're going to have to do something about that, and that has got to be their number one priority coming into this offseason, regardless of whatever the result. Even if they win the Super Bowl this year, they need to look at their running game going into the offseason. At this point, I can't see them winning the Super Bowl without being able to run the football effectively. Probably not going to happen. They're still a contender, but definitely some stuff they got to look at there. At number 11, Chargers, big statement win over the Bengals. They looked really good in their victory, and honestly, they should probably be a little bit higher. I still have the Bengals ranked above them because this was just a really poor game on Joe Burrow's part. I don't know if these two teams would play again, that this result would be the same. And even part of me feels like maybe I should have the Chargers higher and I should have dropped the Bengals lower. I don't know. There's like from like 11 to 8, I'm kind of unsure of where to organize some or 11 to like 7. I'm kind of unsure of where to organize these teams, to be completely honest with you guys, but I do like them at number 11 right now. If you think they should be higher, I totally get it. I think they should probably be higher too. But again, I had a really hard time sorting out like 11 through 7 here just because of like where everyone stands, who's beaten who, and like just the weirdness that is the AFC basically. And you'll see right now as to why, because 10, 9, and 8 are also AFC teams. Tennessee among the best records in the league, but injury-wise, I just don't know if they're quite the number 10 team in the league right now, so they should probably even be lower than where they're at. I don't know. There's a lot of weirdness going on. The Bengals, of course, obviously having blown out the Ravens, but I have the Ravens above them. Like, there's just a real big mix-up here. So Tennessee Titans, I have them at 10. They didn't play this week. They actually moved up one spot because of the Bills' loss, basically. So they're sitting at number 10. Could they be lower? Potentially. Could they be higher? Potentially. But there's just so many injuries on that team. There's such an unknown going in week to week right now. We'll have to see how things shake out for them, but I do have them at 10. Bengals again at 9. I understand they're higher than the Chargers still. Probably should not be, but I just don't know if that game happened again, if the result would play out the same exact way. Some turnovers really hurt the Bengals early. You have a fair argument if you want the Chargers over the Bengals on this list. Again, I'm not really even sold, and I'm not willing to die on this hill over like this little group of rankings right here from number 11 to like 8 or 7. Ravens are sitting at number 8. Really bad loss to the Steelers. This was a game that I really think they should have won. To be honest, there's a lot of issues going on in Pittsburgh right now on the offensive side of the football. I think that the turnovers with Baltimore, and also just like I'm starting to see a little bit of an issue with the passing game. While it's been fine, it's starting to slow down a little bit. The running stuff is starting to not work as effectively. Also, Pittsburgh has a great defense led by TJ Watt, who's a sack machine. So there is that going in their favor, but I was a little surprised seeing the Ravens lose this game. They went for the 2. They realistically could have won, and this would be a completely different story, but they could have won, and they didn't, and honestly, going for the 1, I get it. They have a lot of cornerbacks injured. Marlon Humphrey went down as well. John Harbaugh said that they didn't want to play basically anymore, and that's why they went for 2. They were dealing with, the Marlon Humphrey injury. They have no corners right now. Fair enough. We'll have to see what the Ravens do. The secondary is completely destroyed at this point. I don't think that there's any actual day one starter left at this point. Now it's just people filling in. Very interesting situation for a playoff team to be playing without any of their starting cornerbacks. To still be in the position they are in the playoff race speaks volumes for how good the team is, though, and that's why I have them at number 8. At number 7, we have the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys, good win over the Saints. I don't know if they're top 5 anymore. They had a really, really good game, don't get me wrong, against the Saints, but they have some suspect losses. They're in a weird spot right now where they have some weird losses, but they have some really convincing victories. They have one of the best records in the NFC, so I'm going to give credit where it's due, but I have them sitting just outside the top 5. You beat the Saints 27-17. Taysom Hill basically gave you the game, though, and you still only won by 10. Like, the fact that they had 4 interceptions and you only win the game by 10, I feel like should have been more of a dominating type of victory for Dallas. Offense probably should have put up some more. We'll have to see if they can work their way back into the top 5. But right now, I do like them at number 7. At number 6, we have the Rams coming off a losing streak that they just had going on here. Pretty much a bounce-back game is what I called this, and they needed to get the victory, and they did it convincingly. 37-7, dominated throughout the game, exactly what they needed to do. beat down on a really bad team that's struggling right now. Did what you got to do, got the job done, sitting at number 6 for the Rams. And then for the top 5, at number 5, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. Hot win streak right now, battling back from a really poor start for the season. Love what they're doing. Offensively, they're still struggling. Denver did somewhat keep the offense in check. If Denver wasn't turning the ball over at the rate they were, Denver could potentially win that game, but Kansas City gets it done when it matters. 22-9 victory over their division rival. I like them at 5. Could they be maybe a spot or two lower and you could slip up like the Rams and the Cowboys? Probably, but they're winning. They're on a hot streak. That's what matters right now. 8-4. They look good. At number 4, and you could argue maybe they belong higher, but I have a hard time putting them above the teams that are above them. Number 4, I got the New England Patriots. Again, statement win over the Bills last night. They literally threw the ball 3 times. The Bills knew what was going on, and they could not stop them. Shout out to that offensive line in the running game in New England, and Bill Belichick for putting up what was like the most unrealistic, I feel like, game plan, but he made it work and got a W with it. Just like bizarre stuff going on over there in New England, the way they're getting these wins. It's unbelievable. Bill Belichick is the best coach of all time. I'm sorry for anyone that was saying he can't win without Brady. Are you watching? At number 3, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They had a big win over the Falcons. I mean, talk about just dominating. Brady, 368 yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, it is what it is. They're continuing to just do their thing despite a couple of suspensions for a couple of players on their team. What's not to like about the Buccaneers right now? They're doing a great job. Only a few losses here and there. Overall, dominating wins. Brady is pretty much arguing his case for the MVP at this point by himself because everyone else has had a pretty bad game. I mean, I don't want to say besides him because he has had a game or two that have not been great. But, I mean, Brady has probably put together the most consistent and best body of work, and I could see him being the MVP at the end of the season. It feels like it's a quarterback award at this point. There's some other people I would argue that deserve it more, but, again, it's a quarterback-driven league, like the Buccaneers at 3. Packers are sitting at number 2. Yes, I know, for anyone that says, oh, the Packers beat the Cardinals. I know. I was there. Well, not there, but I watched on TV. I know the result of that game. I saw how the game ended. I like the Packers at number 2. Great team. Offense has been playing well. They didn't play this week, hence why they're not moving. But Green Bay Packers at number 2. I think that they're the second best team in the league right now. Number 1, Arizona Cardinals. I understand the Packers beat them. Continue to win. Dominating fashions. Playing really well. Forced a lot of turnovers to the Bears. 4 interceptions. They were 2-1 without their starters. What's not to like about the Cardinals at this point? I'm sorry. You can't say they're overrated. They went 2-1 with Colt McCoy as their starting quarterback. Like, give me a break. They didn't have their number 1 wide receiver and they also didn't have their number 2 for a couple of those games, I believe, as well. No number 1 running back. James Conner is killing it. Like, I'm sorry. Give me a break. Are you really going to argue somebody's better than the Cardinals at this point in the year? Best record. Winning without your QB 1, wide receiver 1, running back 1. I don't know, man. I think the Cardinals are best in the league. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, though. That is my power rankings for week number 14. I will catch you guys Thursday or potentially earlier if some big news drops or whatever it may be. But I will catch you guys no later than Thursday for our NFL picks. Have a good rest of your week. I'll catch you guys then.